I always thought I was just the mother-in-law, quiet, supportive, fading into the background. But when my son-in-law looked me in the eyes and said something I'll never forget, everything I believed about my place in this family started to unravel. What began as an innocent compliment turned into secret glances, whispered words, and a slow-burning tension I tried so hard to resist. And just when I thought I could keep it all under control, one slow dance changed everything. A confession. A stormy night. A moment alone I'll never be able to erase. But what he told me after that wasn't just about us. It was a secret that could break everything apart, including my daughter's heart. Broken heart. Some feelings are too strong to ignore. Some secrets are too powerful to keep. You won't believe what happened next. I never expected my life to change in the way it did after my daughter's wedding. My name is Rachel Carter and I'm 45 years old, living just outside Charleston, South Carolina. I've always been the kind of woman who holds herself with grace, even through heartbreak. After my husband left me for a younger woman 6 years ago, I focused all my energy on raising my daughter, Emily. She was my pride, my world. I gave her everything I had even when I had nothing left to give. And then just last fall she married a man named Jason Turner. Jason was different. He wasn't just handsome, he was thoughtful, articulate, the kind of man who really looked at people when they spoke. I remember the first time he came to dinner. He brought flowers, not just for Emily but for me too. For the woman who raised such a beautiful soul, he said, handing me a bouquet of white lilies. I felt my breath catch, not because of the flowers, but because of the way he said it. With sincerity. With admiration. No man had spoken to me like that in years. After their honeymoon, Emily and Jason moved into a guest house on my property while they searched for a place of their own. First I welcomed it. I loved having my daughter close, hearing her laugh echo through the backyard again. But what I hadn't expected was how often Jason would come over. Alone. He'd stop by after his morning jogs, drenched in sweat, t-shirt clinging to his chest, asking if I had any of that lemon-infused water I always kept chilled in the fridge. "You make it better than anyone," he'd say with a grin that made me forget how to breathe. There were little things. His compliments that lingered too long. His eyes that drifted too low. The way he seemed to listen more closely when Emily wasn't around. I kept brushing it off. I told myself I was imagining it. A middle-aged woman still starved for affection could easily mistake kindness for something else. Right? One afternoon I was out on the deck pruning my roses. The sun was high and I had pulled my hair up in a loose bun, wearing an old button-up shirt tied at my waist and a pair of worn denim shorts. I didn't realize Jason was standing behind me until I heard his voice. "You're beautiful when you're focused, Rachel," he said softly. I froze. My hand stilled on the thorny stem and I turned to look at him, unsure if I'd heard right. "Excuse me?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. He stepped closer, not enough to touch me, but enough that I could feel the heat of his presence. "I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable," he said. "I just think you're remarkable. Emily's lucky to have a mother like you." I nodded, trying to find the polite smile I usually wore, but it wouldn't come. I muttered something about going inside to check the water and walked off, heart pounding in my chest. From that day things changed. Jason became more attentive. He'd offer to help around the house. Fixing the cabinet hinge, replacing the light bulbs, anything to stay close. And then there were the conversations, long winding talks on the porch late at night when Emily was out or busy with work. He told me things he hadn't even told her. About his childhood. His fears. His dreams. And I told him mine. One night, as the rain tapped gently against the windows, we sat together sipping wine. I wore a navy blue robe, my feet curled beneath me on the couch, hair still damp from a bath. Jason leaned back in the armchair, his eyes never leaving mine. "You know," he said, swirling the wine in his glass, "sometimes I wonder what my life would have been like if I'd met you before Emily." I laughed softly, unsure whether to take it as a joke or a line. But then he said it. The thing I can't forget. "I think I would have fallen in love with you, Rachel. Honestly. I think I still could." My heart stopped. I stared at him, stunned. He didn't look away. He didn't laugh. He meant every word. I didn't know what to say. I felt like a dam had broken between us and we were both standing in the flood. I got up, stammered something about needing to check on dinner and practically ran to the kitchen. I leaned against the counter, breathless. I should have been furious. I should have felt disgusted. But I didn't. I felt alive. That moment haunted me. The way his voice dropped when he said my name. The raw honesty in his eyes. I didn't tell Emily. I couldn't. I knew it would destroy her. And I didn't want that. I loved her too much. But Jason didn't stop. He kept finding excuses to be alone with me. His touches became more lingering. A brush of the hand, a hand on the small of my back as I passed. The tension between us became impossible to ignore. It was like we were dancing along the edge of something dangerous, something forbidden, and exhilarating. One evening, I was in my bedroom trying on a new dress I'd bought for an upcoming dinner party. I hadn't worn something this form-fitting in years. It hugged my curves, flared at the hips, and dipped slightly at the neckline. I looked in the mirror, unsure. Felt sexy. And guilty for feeling that way. Then a knock. Before I could respond, the door creaked open. It was Jason. "Oh, sorry," he said quickly, but he didn't close the door. He just stood there, his eyes running over me in a way that made my skin burn. "You look stunning," he said, his voice low. "Jason," I whispered, pulling the shawl around my shoulders. "You shouldn't be here." He stepped into the room, closing the door gently behind him. "I know," he said. "But I can't stop thinking about you. I try, believe me. But there's something about you that I can't shake." I should have told him to leave. I should have screamed at him. But instead I just stood there, heart racing, breath shallow. He didn't touch me. Not yet. But he moved closer, close enough that I could see the flecks of gold in his eyes. "I'm not trying to hurt anyone," he said. "I just needed you to know how I feel." Then he left. Quietly. Respectfully. But the damage was done. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying it in my mind. The way he looked at me. The words he'd said. The way I didn't push him away. I was standing at the edge of something I didn't fully understand. And I didn't know if I wanted to step away, or fall completely into it. But what came next? That I could have never imagined. The night of the dinner party was warm and fragrant, with a breeze that carried the scent of jasmine through the open windows. I had spent hours getting ready. My black satin dress clung to me like a second skin, elegant, tasteful, but not without allure. I told myself I was dressing for confidence. For attention. But deep down I knew I wanted his eyes on me. Jason arrived before Emily. He stepped inside wearing a crisp charcoal blazer, his dark hair slicked back just slightly, enough to make him look like he'd walked off the cover of a magazine. The moment our eyes met, everything around us slowed. He noticed the dress. His gaze dipped, briefly, but said more than words ever could. "You look unbelievable," he whispered, stepping close enough for me to catch the faint scent of his cologne, something woody and warm. I smiled, but it was nervous. "Please. Not tonight." "Why not tonight?" he said quietly. "You don't see it, do you? How magnetic you are. How hard it is for me to be near you and not want more." The doorbell rang. Emily's voice followed. She came in, bright and beautiful, carrying wine and laughter, completely unaware of the fire she'd just interrupted. For the rest of the evening we played our roles flawlessly. Emily poured drinks. I served appetizers. Jason talked football with one of the neighbors. But beneath it all, a current crackled, hot, electric, undeniable, between him and me. After most guests had left and Emily was in the kitchen cleaning up, Jason asked me to dance. "Just one," he said. "You owe me that much." The living room lights were dim. A soft jazz song played on the speaker. I hesitated for a moment, then nodded. He took my hand and pulled me gently into his arms. My breath caught as his palms settled on the small of my back, guiding me with slow, sensual rhythm. We barely moved, but the closeness was intoxicating. His lips brushed the side of my ear, his breath warm as he whispered, "Do you feel that?" I did. Every heartbeat, every silent ache I'd ignored for so long was suddenly alive, awakened by his touch. But just as his hand slid slightly lower, we heard the sound of glass breaking in the kitchen. "Emily." We stepped apart instantly like guilty teenagers. My cheeks flushed. Jason ran a hand through his hair and mumbled something about helping her clean up. I stood frozen, heart hammering. That dance, it wasn't innocent. Not for either of us. The next day, Emily went to visit a friend out of town. Jason stayed behind, claiming he had meetings. I didn't want to be alone in the house with him. Not after that night. But fate had other plans. It was around 3 p.m. when the rain started. Heavy, dramatic. Thunder shook the windows. I was upstairs folding laundry when I heard Jason call out. Rachel? The power just went out. I came downstairs. He was standing in the hallway, phone flashlight pointed up. Looks like we're stuck, he said, then grinned. Got any candles? I nodded and led him into the living room. The silence between us wasn't awkward. It was heavy. Weighted with all the things we hadn't said. I lit a few candles, the flickering glow casting soft shadows across the room. Jason sat on the edge of the couch, his hands clasped between his knees. He didn't look at me. I need to ask you something, he finally said, his voice low. And I need you to be honest. I sat across from him, heart racing. When I said what I said the other night, did it make you uncomfortable? Or did it make you feel seen? His question hit like a wave. I tried to hold on to my composure, but I couldn't lie. Not to him. Not anymore. It scared me, I admitted. Because I haven't felt noticed in a long time. And because I know it's wrong. He looked up, locking eyes with me. But did it make you feel something? My throat tightened. Yes. That single word changed everything. He stood up slowly, walked toward me, and crouched down in front of where I sat. His hand rested on my knee, not boldly but gently, reverently. Then I'm not crazy, he murmured. No, Jason, you're not, I whispered. There was a pause. A moment where I think we both held our breath. His hand slid slightly, fingertips brushing the curve of my thigh. The warmth of his skin sent chills up my spine. But I stood. Jason, we can't. No matter how strong this is. She's your wife. She's my daughter. He didn't argue. He just nodded slowly and said, I know. But I won't apologize for how I feel. The rain continued through the evening, drowning the world outside in white noise. Jason stayed in the guest house that night. I didn't sleep. My mind kept spinning, guilt, longing, confusion, all tangled together. A few days later, Emily came home and announced they were finally moving into their new place across town. I should have felt relief. But instead I felt something closer to heartbreak. On moving day, Jason found me in the garden, kneeling in the soil, hands dirty and heart heavier than I'd admit. I guess this is goodbye, he said. Don't say that, I replied. You'll still visit. Your family now. He gave a faint smile. I don't think I'll be able to. Not for a while. I need space. I understood what he meant. I wanted to say something more, but he leaned in and kissed my forehead, soft, lingering, full of everything we couldn't say aloud. Take care of yourself, Rachel, he whispered. And just like that, he was gone. Days passed. Then weeks. Emily called often. Jason never did. But one morning a letter came. No name on the envelope, no return address. Just one sentence written in bold, slanted script. If things were different, I would have chosen you.